Chris Jericho's doing a good job of being your lead heel on AEW. And, he's not trying to be a cool heel. He's trying to be a very unlikable guy. And that's what you have to do.
Hang on. You say he's not trying to be a cool heel, but he's also in the middle of a promo pulling out a bottle of wine saying, "Oh, a little bottle of bubbly." Come on.
Well, Conrad, come on. I know you swim in some high dollar circles. Is the wino in the room usually the cool guy?
No.
Really?
No.
Or is he just the guy that we always have to get a drive home for?
Yeah. There you go. Okay. You win.
No, I don't know if there's a winner or a loser, but I just know, there's cool heels and there's heels that want to be heels. And I think so far, Chris has done a good job with that. And because, hey, to move where you were part with WWE, he was part of a huge collective group of talent.
Sure.
That were the best in the world. Vince has been assembling an all-star team now since the 80s, obviously. It's everyone's dream to go to New York. And so he's had the best to choose from. Chris went from being in that environment and doing well in that environment to moving to a smaller environment where you have less notoriety with the guys that are here, and you could go either way. You could either just say, hey, I'm going to be a guy that's bringing a hell of a lot of good baggage with me and good exposure with me, and I'm just going to stay on top. I'm just going to outshine these guys because I got more experience and I know how. Or you can be that guy that's going to be your heel champion and your leader, and his job's to make everybody on that roster. And so far, I haven't seen any indication that that's not what's in Chris's mind.
For better or worse, when Jericho was a part of WWE, he was most recently a part of the mid card. He had a match with Kevin Owens at WrestleMania that didn't exactly go on last. Sort of the same thing with Fandango a few years ago, where Fandango got the win. Not exactly the high point of Jericho's career in WWE. Now he's the top guy with AEW. How much of the allure of being back where he feels like he belongs as the top guy do you think AEW was to Jericho? You know him better than we do.
Does he feel justified? Is that what you're saying?
Well, I just wonder, when he sees, hey, we're on third or whatever the case may be. I mean, this is a guy who main evented WrestleMania against Triple H for the world title, the first undisputed champion. Had a tremendous feud with everyone in wrestling from Shawn Michaels on down the line. And now, he finds himself not exactly as the top guy in presentation or match placement. But then when AEW pops up, sure, it's fewer dates and it's significant money. So that's all attractive. But do you think positioning as far as the way he's presented on TV was of any significance to Jericho in 2019?
Yeah, I think, if you don't want to be the top heel or top babyface, depending on who you are and what you are in a given company, or you don't want to be the champion, what are you in the business for? If you don't want to be the very top player on either side of the ball, I don't know anyone in sports that goes, hey, you know what? I want to go out there and win a red ribbon.
Right.
It's WrestleMania, there's a couple of spots, and you got to look at the reality of it. And trust me, I've lived the reality of it. You either want to be on first or you want to be on last.
Right.
The problem with being on last is you've had people that have been literally sitting in that crowd for 8 hours.
Yeah.
And I don't care how great the match that's booked. I don't care who the talent are. The crowd is very tired when you get to that main event. And, the professionals that work for that company and are put on last, It's because the company, that's how they feel about them, that they're main event players. But, buddy, if you go out and sit in the crowd and watch those last couple of matches, as long as that show has become, the people are just beat and they're leaving. You know, I've been out in the crowd and seen them streaming out when the main event was going in. And you talk about disheartening, be in the ring and have that happen to you. And this is before the bell ever rang.
All right.
I've seen it. That ought to tell you you're doing something wrong, and something big time wrong. So anyway, Chris was positioned somewhere, you know, second, third, whatever the deal may be. And I think he was told, you know, by the boss that was the worst WrestleMania match that he's ever seen.
Yeah. You're referencing the Chris, or the Kevin Owens match. The rumor and innuendo is that he didn't tell Jericho that, but he told Kevin Owens when he came through the curtain, that's the worst WrestleMania match he'd ever seen. When you heard that, what'd you think?
I mean, don't you think that's a bit much?
Of course it is. That's just not even close to being true.
I mean, you know, but the thing about it is, here's where the hurtful part comes in. You take a talent that you're pushing and you're putting over all your other talent, and you tell a guy that coming through the curtain, you know, at WrestleMania Day, it just destroys him. It destroys his confidence. You dip into his manhood. You know, you have him second guessing everything that he has learned up until that point in time. Now he's going, well, God, I thought I knew what I was doing. I don't know anything. And you just destroy a guy internally when you tell him, and it's not the truth. That's the problem, you know, that I have with it. It's not accurate.
Man, I can't help but feel like, you know, a couple of weeks ago, we had an Ask Arn Anything, and I asked you to tell me a funny Vince McMahon story, or if you had any, and you took a long pregnant pause and you said no. And now you're telling this story from your point of view, your perspective about Jericho and Kevin Owens. I get the impression that you're not sort of aligned with Vince McMahon's vision of professional wrestling. Is that fair to say?
No, it depends on what day it is, because it switches day to day.
Not your opinion, but his view on wrestling, right? Is that what you mean?
Yeah. His view switches day to day. You know, it's like, this is a black shirt today. Yes, sir. Okay. I got it. Tomorrow, that black shirt may be orange, but he's still saying it's a black shirt. It just changes. It just, you know, it's like trying to keep up with the daily pet peeves, things he doesn't like, you know, what is the no, all those things. But he's the boss. It is his playground. Every one of us are just passing through, make no mistake. And I knew that from the very beginning. The day they hired me, I knew that I was going to be fired. It was just a question of fill in the date, because that's the way it is. And, you know, you're like a ice cold Coca-Cola that's floating in a cooler, you know, full of ice on a hot day, and you open that thing up and, man, it burns going down. It tastes good. And I'm talking about a real Coke. But when you work for WWE, once that can's empty, at least in his mind, squash it, throw it away.